Evangelion is one of those animes that leave a lot up to the imagination and make fans come up with weird theories and speculate just what the hell happened. And one of these theories I think is pretty interesting is just who the hell Mari is, because she just kind of shows up in the Rebuild movies with no backstory given at all, and it's never elaborated upon, and it probably won't be elaborated upon in the final movie that's not out yet either, because this is Evangelion and we can't get any answers, only questions. So it's just going to be left up to speculation, I'm sure. With that being said, this probably isn't true at all. None of it probably is, but I do find it pretty interesting, and I like to theorize about weird shit. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail. There's another channel on YouTube that has a much better video than this, and I highly recommend, if you're interested, go watch that instead.
What do you want from me? Ask him.
One of the main theories that I'm interested in is that Mari could be the mother of Asuka, at least in the Rebuild movies. One piece of evidence that I kind of think is interesting is the picture that Fuyutsuki shows Shinji in the third Rebuild movie. Well, aside from being just a plot point in the movie, let's go ahead and analyze this picture just a little bit. So we know that this is Yui Ikari, or Shinji's mother. There's Shinji as a baby. And then there's these two characters, but one of them's like half off camera and the other one's out of focus and there's no detail, so who really cares? But then there's this woman right here. And we can only see the side of her face, but she actually has quite a bit of detail for it just being a random character in a picture. I mean, look at the two guys again. They don't have any detail on them, so they obviously aren't important characters. And we all know that if you have no detail in anime, then you aren't really an important character. But this lady has glasses. She's got slightly colored hair. She even has like a hair clip. Now, I'm not saying that it's true or anything, but it is quite eerie to think that this might be Mari, because, well, Mari wears pink glasses. She has, I don't know, maroon hair, slightly reddish hair, I don't know. And the woman in the picture, from what I can see, has pink glasses and slightly maroonish hair. So if it's not the same character, then they definitely do share some coincidental features. The main issue I have with this theory is that Mari doesn't really have any physical features that resemble Asuka, except the eye color. They both have blue eyes, I guess. Of course, we don't know who Asuka's father is, so there's that. In the original series, Asuka's mother is practically brain dead. Like, she doesn't even know who Asuka really is anymore. She thinks she's a fucking doll. And that's because she put her soul inside Unit 2. Kind of like how Yui did with Unit 1, except instead of disappearing completely, basically she just lost her fucking mind. Now, aside from being in the last chapter of the manga, which I don't count at all, Mari wasn't in the original anime. She was first introduced in the second Rebuild movie, which she wasn't really a very prominent character in, except until like the last maybe 30 minutes of the movie. Now, Mari never meets Asuka in this movie. She pilots Unit 2 when Asuka gets incapacitated, but she never talks about Asuka, she never mentions her. She doesn't even actually know who previously piloted Unit 2, or seems to not know. In the third movie, Asuka and Mari are practically best friends. Now, there is a 13-year gap between the second movie and the third movie. However, in the original anime, Asuka was quite close to everybody, including Shinji, who she spent the most amount of time around. But in the second movie, she was definitely easier to open up to people because she didn't have the kind of issues that she did in the original anime. Despite that, the only person that she really opens up to is Misato. She never really opens up to Shinji and definitely not Rei, and she never even meets Mari in the second movie. There's obviously a big enough gap between the end of the second movie and the beginning of the third movie, and that's plenty of time to get to know somebody and actually become friends with them, though it's strange that Asuka doesn't really do that with anybody else aside from Mari and Misato, and Mari doesn't seem to talk to anybody else aside from Asuka. In fact, I don't know if she had any other dialogue where she wasn't talking to Asuka, or she wasn't just talking to herself. At the end of the second Rebuild movie, Mari takes over piloting Unit 2, which is quite strange because we never see her pilot Unit 2 ever before, so I'm guessing that she is one of the original pilots of Unit 2, and she knows exactly how to use Unit 2 as well. She even knows about its secret beast mode and how to activate it, which Asuka never knew about, or she didn't get the opportunity to use. Now, when she uses beast mode, then Mari's eyes glow this green, this bright neon green. In the third Rebuild movie, Asuka uses beast mode for the first time, and her eyes are the same color as Mari's. This could just be a coincidence, and maybe if you use beast mode, then your eyes just glow a neon green for some reason. Shinji has brown or black colored eyes, the same as his mom, and Rei, spoiler alert, is a clone of Shinji's mother, and she has red eyes. Now at the end of the second movie, when Shinji goes God mode, his eyes glow red, which is the same color as Rei, which is a clone of his mother. Now from what I know, eye color of the child is largely based off the parent's eye color. Now this is just speculation, of course, and it's probably just a big ass coincidence, but it is pretty funny to think about, especially how coincidental this all is. I feel like a jackass for not bringing this up at the very beginning, but this is probably the most damning evidence of them all against this theory, and that is their fucking age. Mari, apparently in the manga, is 16 years old, but I'm not counting the manga. But apparently her age is unknown in Rebuild, so let's just say she's 16. I mean, she looks exactly like she does in the manga, so I'm assuming that she's 16 years old. Asuka is 14 years old. So, obviously, you see the issue here. There's no fucking way that Mari could have gotten pregnant at 2 years old and had Asuka as a child. I have heard part of the theory is maybe Mari is a time traveler, which means it would automatically fit because time travel is a bullshit cop-out. But that doesn't disprove it. However, I think that it could be possible that maybe Mari is a part of Asuka's mother's soul. As I said earlier in the original anime, Asuka's mother is brain dead, seeing as how her soul is in Unit 2, and it left behind basically a husk of what her mother used to be. Now maybe Mari is the quote-unquote husk of Asuka's mother's soul in the Rebuild series. This is what I find strange, because in the original anime, Asuka's mother was the central theme of Asuka's whole character development, while in the Rebuild movies, Asuka's mother is almost never mentioned at all. In fact, I don't think it gets mentioned one time, from what I recall. I realize that all these ideas up to this point have been quite far-fetched, but no, trust me, this next one I got is going to be a whole hell of a lot more far-fetched than all the others. Now, I know I said earlier that I don't like time travel theories. They're just too damn confusing. But for the sake of this next theory, let's just go along with some kind of time travel bullshittery. Now, as you probably already know, the original anime is on a completely different timeline than the Rebuild movies. It ran for 26 episodes, And if you didn't like episode 25 and 26, you could go with the end of Evangelion movie as the real ending. For the sake of this theory, let's go with the end of Evangelion being the actual end of the anime. Spoiler alert, the end of Evangelion ends with Shinji and Asuka being the first two humans to re-emerge from the LCL and waking up together on a beach. And that's pretty much the whole ending. You don't get any context after that. You don't know what Shinji and Asuka decide to do after that, which means that for this theory, I'm gonna say that it's possible that Shinji and Asuka could have, they could have done it. Alright? It's possible that for this theory, they could have done it. And their daughter could have been Mari. I'm not entirely sure on how hair color gets passed down, but I think it has to do with a dominant gene. So let's say that Shinji has the dominant gene when it comes to hair color, and seeing how his hair is brown and Asuka's is red, then if his was dominant, it would make more sense for Mari, their daughter, to have darker hair. I think. And then it's possible that some kind of time bullshittery happens, and Mari travels into a different timeline where the Rebuild movies take place. And then, of course, she would have to get amnesia or lose her memory in some way, shape, or form, because, of course, that has to happen in a time skip bullshit sort of thing. And maybe this is why she also meets Shinji and Asuka in the third movie, because she sure as hell doesn't seem to talk to anybody else in these fucking movies. Obviously, this is just wild speculation, and I'm willing to bet that 99.9% of this is verifiably just insane, which it is, and it doesn't help how the last movie isn't out yet. God knows when we're gonna get that, but even when we do get it, I'm willing to bet that we won't know who the fuck Mari is in that movie either. In fact, I'm willing to bet that we'll have a lot more questions in that movie than we will have answers. And that's what Evangelion is all about, getting more questions and less answers. So it's best to just keep making these crazy-ass theories about just random things in this anime, because God knows we're not going to get any answers.